Hey there, I am with Jaime, and I wanted to learn about Tanzu's app portfolio assessment and onboarding capabilities. I am working with a customer. They have a set of legacy apps in a portfolio, things that are not suitable for containerization, things like WebLogic
Mhm.
and WebSphere and stuff like that. And they have been looking for help in terms of a cost-efficient way to get this stuff and modernized up onto a containerized platform.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Corby. Also, and for us, everything related to app modernization starts with the assessment of the source code of the applications that you want to modernize. All the tooling that we have is based on static code analysis of the source code, which is for us the source of truth, where we can really detect the right information, the right facts, and the right patterns in order to understand if applications are suitable to go into containers or modern platforms like Tanzu platform. And through our app assessment capability in Tanzu Hub, we can easily scan multiple application repositories. You can go small, you can go big, and you can get this very interesting holistic application state view of all the repositories, understand the suitability score that gives you a sense of how many changes are required in order to push these apps into containers. Normally, the suitability is very tied to the 12-factor principles, just to try to make sure that best practices are kept in those application repositories to ensure the applications not only can be put in a container, but they can be started, they can be restarted, they can basically function properly, and they can scale in the platform. So thanks to the app assessment, we get a lot of information from the repositories. A lot of that is technical facts, like the versions of the frameworks, like the dependencies that are used, but a lot of it is based on our experience on detecting the use of different libraries and using different patterns in the code, just to understand how those patterns can affect moving into the platform.
I want to find out what happens if I have a WebSphere application. What does this process look like? Am I actually going to be able to get this thing up and running on Tanzu platform? So, Jaime, I was wondering if you could help kind of guide me through a test here. I have an application here that has not been touched for 11 years. This is an 11-year-old code base. And this is a WebSphere application, and you can find these museum of oddities in here. I have a application.xml, so this deploys an ear file onto WebSphere, which is absolutely not going to run in a containerized environment. If I look at my beloved Spring, oh my God, I'm looking at XML configuration. Do you remember this? This obviously predates Spring Boot
Spring
or
Boot.
anything. This is
Yeah.
application context.xml. Shout out to people who remember this stuff here. And we have WebXML. So we're running just raw servlets on and deploying them to a pre-existing application server with a servlet container. As if I look at the documentation, it looks like I start off here by setting up what's called a repository group. So this would be a group of applications. And what I like about this here, Jaime, is that it says, "Hey, for today, I'm just going to go and point it directly at my Git repository." But if that's not tenable for some reason, if you don't want the platform touching your repository, you can't reach it, you can actually just go ahead and upload the source code itself, and it will assess it that way here. So I'm going to create a repository group in here, and then I'm able to tell it, hey, what are all the applications that I want to assess? And so they provide a template that shows examples of what it looks like to take a portfolio of applications that you can run through and have this system look at once. And you do things like assess business criticality and cost and point to the repos and stuff like that. But in my case, I'm just going to send a group with a single application because I just want it to run on this application. So I'm going to go ahead and take this file and upload it to the repository CVE. So go to CSV, excuse me. Go to here's our JPA example repository. All right, and I'm going to put that in, and then I need to give it access token. So like I say, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and have it directly connect to my Git repo where this thing is stored. I'm going to need to give it a GitHub key in order to be able to access my repos. So I'll put that in there. And then I guess I can also, if I want, provide a repo for test fish. I don't think I need to do that here. I'm just going to go ahead. Oh, no, it wants me to do that. Okay. So we'll let it give a test here. Let me find my repo name.
That's normally mostly for when you have files with a lot of repos, so you can test one of them. But you could definitely go ahead and create right away.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Well, in any event, my test connection works. So
Perfect.
Tanzu Hub
That's
is
what it
able
is for.
to
Yes.
connect. And then I am going to go ahead and initiate the assessment automatically after the creation. Can you tell me a little bit about what this assessment is going to do here, Jaime?
Most definitely. So thanks to the information you provided in the credentials and the type of repo, it's going to be able to connect and identify us with the token that you provided and basically automate the creation of git pull commands on the repository URLs that you provided in the CSV repo. It's gonna grab all those, in this case, a single repo. It's gonna git clone it, and then it's going to pass all our scan assessment tools on that code. It's gonna apply all that expertise you mentioned before that has been baked in from decades of experience of our engineers doing modernization and app transformation into rules that detect this information and these patterns. And at the end of passing all those rules, he's gonna collect all the information and present it in a different way, in a couple different ways. We only have one app, so the aggregated information will be less interesting on this case, but it is definitely something that will get populated no matter what. So after you do this, the assessment should have finished. There is a way to check the tasks here in Hub and in one of those icons. But if you refresh this view, you should be able to see the results of the repository group
Oh, fantastic. We did it. Okay,
assessment.
very good. So I see this is the business criticality I assigned to the application.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like it's identified some modernization challenges. Why don't I go ahead? So it did say the suitability status is low, as
Mm-hmm.
is. This
Mm-hmm.
application is not suitable to run on a containerized environment like Tanzu platform. So I guess we're gonna get it there, right?
We're gonna get it
Um,
there.
I'm gonna get it there. Okay. Wow. Okay. So here we go. So we're looking at my application, and it has identified a number of modernization
Mm-hmm.
challenges here. Jaime, do next. Should I just go ahead and proceed to the onboarding plan?
Yes, just one quick observation I think could be interesting here is that all the information you're looking at is basically extracted from the source code, as we were mentioning before, using these rules. There hasn't been any AI use at this point yet. Everything that we have assessed is based on these rules, which are also deterministic. We obviously
Right.
can use all the AI we want to create more rules, but the process of assessment and extracting the information is based on deterministic rules to ensure that the output is consistent and also that we don't have to waste tokens doing a lot of assessment, repeating the same type of thing over and over doing multiple repositories. So here, like in other parts of our Tanzu platform tooling, we try to stick to us to deterministic tooling as much as we can.
Gotcha. No, thank you. That's super helpful context. And in fact, if I take a look here, I can see there's 401 rules deterministic rules that are encoded and applied. And I assume that these are best practices that come from our modernization teams, our services teams that have captured this information over the years.
That's right.
All right. And so we can tell there's no cheating. The last commit date on this repo is April 2nd, 2015. This is legitimately an old ass application, and we're going to see if we can get this thing up and running
Yep.
on Tanzu platform here. All right, so now I'm going to the onboarding plan. Okay, so this is going to get interesting. So you talked a lot about the platform itself is using deterministic rules in order to assess and evaluate the application. But once we get into the weeds and we start making code changes across a significant code base, I think we're going to bring AI to play. Is that right,
Hmm.
Jaime?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. And there are some changes that we could also do deterministic, take a deterministic path with the recipes. But in this specific case, as you have highlighted, it has been determined is a low suitability application. It has big problems to solve, and AI is going to come very handy for those.
But in some cases, we also have what's termed as an AI assisted fix here. And this is where, as I understand it, Jaime, the engineering team has captured best practices and specific methodologies for implementing these fixes into skills or rule sets that you
Mhm.
can apply to an AI engine to steer the AI engine and make sure that it is doing things the way that we know is best practice for these types of fixes here.
Definitely. It definitely that's exactly the way you described it, and steering the AI agent is one of the principles that we have in both ways, in making sure that the actual process to translate code follows best practices to preserve the functionality of the code, to make sure that we include tests when they're not available, and also to make sure that you have a language to define the specifications and the requirements of the code, and then also to steer the agent into the actual translation into Spring Boot using best practices and latest versions of the framework.
All right. Well, we've got a lot of work ahead of us here. We got to get rid of distributed transactions, servlets, EJBs. We got to get off of
Mhm.
WebSphere and we got to get onto Spring Boot. So let's see what we can do here. I'm going to follow the instructions here. I'm going to go to my coding agent IDE, and I'm going to run a CF command line, CF repo unpack skills. So we just talked about those skills, those rule sets that have expert level guidance for the AI agent. And I'm going to go and it's going to unpack these into my directory here. So that's what it is. So it created a little Claude skills directory here, and it's put in all these rule sets. So they are now co-located with my code base here.
Mhm.
So that's good prep. And then I'll go ahead and launch my coding agent. So I'm running uh, Claude, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to use Sonnet. I'll do effort high, but this isn't going to be a bleeding edge frontier class model. This is going to be just a daily driver, and let's see how we can do if we get enough guidance for this model to work effectively with this code base here. So we do have this skill that we loaded is called Tanzu onboard. And I'm being instructed to run this skill. So this is going to have the complete workflow for onboarding, modernizing, and upgrading the application. Am I good to go ahead and run this as is, Jaime?
Yes, you are, and it is in fact the entry point for doing a AI assisted onboarding flow, and during the process is going to. detect certain things and give you more skills that you can use depending on the information found in the repository.
Oh, fantastic. That's good. Okay, so it's going to work here. It's inspecting my project layout. It figured out this is a mono repo.
Yes.
So it's going to look at both the ear file and the web. What is that called? The war file. The war file in here for our application. Okay, so what will happen here? It says this is a Eclipse WebSphere project with no standard build files. No manifest exists. Would you like to run CF repo onboard app to analyze the project and generate a Cloud Foundry manifest? That sounds like a great idea. Okay, so what's this distinction here? I start off with the Tanzu onboard, and now
Mhm.
Jaime, I'm going to go ahead and execute this command, the CF repo onboard app. What's happening here?
You can do that, or you could just agree to it and it would have executed the command for you. But it's basically already templating the command format and options, and it's detecting that you have an assessment done for that repository, and it's showing you the same information we obtained during the assessment on Tanzu Hub, and summarizing the challenges found, which of those challenges we can go ahead and fix, and which are of the challenges that will require a more manual approach.
Okay, so it looks like what it did now was it basically ran through the assessment. So it says, hey, I generated a manifest.yml. So this is what we're going to be able to use to deploy on app. And so now we have a new skill called Tanzu Modernize app.
Exactly.
And so this is going to handle those AI assisted
Exactly.
migrations. Okay,
Mhm.
so we started off by running
Tanzu on
Tanzu
board.
on board. Okay, now we're going to do Tanzu Modernize. Okay, so we basically assessed everything. Now Tanzu Modernize that. This is where we're going to actually get into the meat of the code changes.
Yep. And and at the very beginning, when you were running the Tanzu on board, you didn't have that skill yet in place. It's something that was
Ah,
basically hydrated into this repository, the location where you're at, because it confirmed that you indeed have challenges that could be fixed with an AI assisted modernization flow. So it determined that you could definitely use that skill, so installed it, and obviously gave you the chance to agree to move forward with that one.
excellent. Okay, that makes perfect sense. This is wonderful. Okay, the skills are up to date. No spec directory exists. This is a fresh start. I need a few inputs. Where should the new Spring Boot application be written? Okay, I'm just going to go
Mhm.
ahead and a sibling directory next to the current project keeps the legacy and modern app. Sure, I guess that makes sense. Let's go ahead and do that. Uh, all right, the Spring Boot 4 application is going to be named JPA example. That sounds fine. And
Mhm.
we'll go to 10. All right, so now we're going to create a new Spring Boot application called JPA example that will be platform ready. It will be modernized. We'll be able to CF push this thing ultimately to Tanzu platform, our old WebSphere application here. Build catalog. What is build catalog? Is this figuring out how to build with like a pom.xml, or is that something else here?
It's building a catalog of all the domains that it detects in the what they call the legacy code application. So the application we are trying to modernize. So it's going to the purpose is to create a catalog of stories by using all those domains, all APIs, all functionality that it detects in the source application to make sure we don't miss anything. And it's going to obviously comb the code in order to detect all those different domains, and should create separated stories to tackle each part. And one of the reasons for that is that when we start doing the actual changes, You want to have this separation story by story so that you don't basically abuse the context and take one challenge at a time, one problem at a time, avoid context rot, and move forward with this step by step.
Excellent. And okay, so this is going to be interesting now. What it's actually doing is looking at the business logic in my code and writing
Yep.
user stories. This is going
Yep.
to allow it to validate that the behavior of the modernized application matches what we started off with here. Oh, okay. So this is interesting. Okay,
Absolutely.
so we've got this catalog here. I want to take a look at this catalog here. So here's
Yep.
our spec, which,
So
okay, interesting.
this is a very interesting question. So you now have a sense of the existing business logic. It has dig into the legacy code. It has extracted that into a catalog with different stories. And it's not assuming yet that you want to migrate every single one of those. So it's going to give you the chance of deciding which ones you want to analyze in more detail. Because here is going to apply a different skill. So far, it has applied the skill that basically extracts the functionality or business logic into stories. And now it's going to potentially leverage another skill to create the specs for each one of those stories that you want. This is going to dive deeper into the technical aspect of it, and it's going to try to extract not just a sense of the business logic, but also the implementation and how that those existing implementation can be translated into Spring Boot.
Love it. Okay, cool. So in this case, I do have 4 simple user stories and limited time for the demo. So I am going to one shot this, but this was a very important question to me because when I'm going to work with customers who have large applications that aren't feasible to one shot. You're going to want to be able to do this in a segmented, structured approach where you're able to validate incrementally and be able to do something that's reasonable within the scope of a coding model, and that's very helpful.
Right. And for sure, one thing we are not looking at here, Corby, obviously, and it will take almost as much time to dive into everything that is being generated. Because even if we are not generating code yet, we are generating a lot of very interesting documentation for the project itself.
Yes.
Using those stories, all that is written in human language that you can go read, even maybe do some validation, do some sort of verification that nothing is missed or that everything is properly understood. So that's something that can be done for sure during this process because until the end of the detail story generation is not gonna start creating the new code based on that.
Yeah,
And it's
I actually
creating kind of
can't
like
wait.
an
I want to
intermediate.
dive into this here. Let's take a look at
Yeah.
what it's put in here. So if I go into my domains, I can see these are the user stories that it's writing. It's created a user story catalog.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the different pieces of functionality that need to be migrated from the WebSphere application to the
Mm-hmm.
Cloud Foundry application. And this is like an index here. And I can look
Yeah.
in and look at this. This is great. So this shows,
There you go.
hey, here's a user story. I want to be able to retrieve all the items so I can browse a consistently ordered item list. It's providing all the information the coding agent needs to be able to operate precisely and also to validate its results, to be able to write tests that verify that the system is working as described. Same thing with this one here. We have save item
Mm-hmm.
and go in here. So this is pretty good. This looks like a very good solid day or two's work of effort for a specialist who's coming on in and trying to analyze an application and write specs for being able to do modernization.
Indeed, and the format, because obviously there is definitely a lot of information here that is super easy to follow for anybody to read it. But then there's some of those blurbs are written in a manner that is easy to be then translated into this in Spring code. So it's like intermediate definition, because these are really specs, so that you can grab them and really produce the code using them. And there's a few other very interesting MD files there. Let's see how we're doing here. So if you
Oh,
go
we've got some more
to the
stories.
spec, yeah. So there's a README there, a little bit below.
Yes.
Yes. So this gives you a more overview of
This is the
everything
high
that has been
level.
detected. Yes.
Right, right. So this is the high level, what we're trying to do, what the
hmm
architecture looks like of the original application. We see this Postgres dependency that's going to become important here.
Yep.
Um, and it's providing kind of a high level list of steps, key pieces of code, and where to find it in the repo.
hmm
So that's really useful. And what have we got here? We've got a data model.
There you go.
Very good. So it's generating DDL so that when we get it into the platform hosted database, it'll be able to figure out how to get everything over there. So that's pretty good. And then we have what do we got here? These domain mappings, endpoints,
Yeah.
services,
This is
entities.
the part that will be richer if you had a larger application with more domains, more APIs selected. In this case, as we saw, it was just one of them, but for each one of them, it gives you a summary of what it represents, or what the basically the skills have understood it represents, and prepare for the translation.
Perfect. Yeah. So we're doing Java server pages. We got to get all that supported. And this shows us what all the endpoints are and what the web interface does in here. So this is fantastic. Okay. So it looks like we've gone through it here as well.
There we
So it
go.
says, before translation begins, please review the strategic questions. Uh, Whether the auto create on get behavior is intentional, what kind of Postgres CF service type, and whether we want to seed data retention. So let's take a look real quick at this. We have the
hmm
strategic questions. Here we are. That are in here. So, okay, so this is interesting. So we probably aren't going to do a complete run through of all this stuff today just because of time, but this shows this is great because this identifies, hey, anywhere there might be something ambiguous that can
Exactly.
affect the outcome of the process. If anything that you don't want to leave up to chance, go ahead and provide additional information and context here. Now, I'm going to YOLO this. I'm going to basically say, hey, I'm going to let the coding agent make best
Choose.
guesses in terms of doing this. But
Yeah.
for a critical business application, you might not want to leave that to chance. And this does a good job of identifying, hey, here are issues where you might get ambiguous results, and you can go ahead and lock down what that
hmm
decision set needs to be in order to
Absolutely.
modernize the app. Okay, I would like to go ahead and start phase 2 translation now by running the Tanzu rewrite story skill. What is this going to do for me, Jaime? Do you know?
Oh, this is gonna get into serious business creating the new code and the new application. And as we anticipated, it's gonna load the necessary skills, confirm that you have the latest version of all those skills, and ask you which story you want to start first. Because even if you had only one domain, there were four stories in it, and each one will have. I mean, as we were saying before, it really wants to go step by step, not try to do everything at once. If you don't want to do it, and limit the use of the context.
I love that. That's fantastic because I can see what it's doing here. I ran the Tanzu rewrite story and said basically, hey, here's the story. Select the one that we should start on first, and recommended which one should go sequentially. And then I can tell because we've seen that it has these nice little check boxes in the in the MD files um, where the agent can track its progress. So I can end my session, I can come in tomorrow morning, start up Claude Code with a brand new context, completely fresh and clean, run Tanzu rewrite story,
Exactly.
and then I can pick up where I left off and say, hey, here's the next story that I want to, pick out, port, validate, and that sort of thing here.
That's right. And even if you go and don't go to the right story yet, it's able to detect the work done. Even if you started with the Tanzu Modernize app, it's gonna be able to detect, oh, I already started generated stories. I already have these stories with details. So it could take it from left it. Now it's doing a very interesting thing. It asks you a question about what type of build do you want, Maven or Gradle. It's asking you about the project settings. So if you have used Spring Initializer, you know what's coming because it's asking you all the questions that it
That's
will
right.
drive you through if you were doing this more manually, and it's obviously gonna help you do it in a more automated fashion.
And look, it's building my pom.xml. It's figuring out
Hmm.
what needs to go in there. So that's great. And we're putting in a Spring Boot test framework. This is looking very promising, Jaime. And we're writing unit tests. So we're going back to those stories. The
The catalog, okay,
uh,
the domains,
the
yes, there you
yeah
go.
the user stories here, and we're generating test cases that validate that our ported application is meets the requirements, that it behaves the way that our original application did.
And you see the last command that is running is even going beyond that on best practices and is using additional tooling that we have in our CLI and plugins in order to apply advice for memory optimizations. Since
Oh, very nice.
it's preparing this application to be pushed into the platform using the Java build pack. It wants to make sure that it configures the Java build pack with the best environment variables and configuration so that we maximize the memory usage. Basically, we optimize the memory usage and start time. So we have finished one translation of code.
This is fantastic. All right. And we can see, look, we're getting service annotations and stuff. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and rush to the end. And I'm going to tell it, uh, go ahead and implement all of the remaining stories in sequence. Also, launch a subagent to create a post GraphQL service instance that will be uh, 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 the database used by this application. And I want to start that off because it takes a couple minutes to launch Postgres. So I want to have it do that in the background so we're not waiting on it. We're ready to push here. It finished story 2 very quickly. That one's already done. Let's go to story 3. What were we saying, Jaime?
Oh, I was just making almost a joke that we humans are getting better at understanding how agents are responding these days. Uh,
Yes. All right, so it looks like it's going into the web interface here, and it's completed
Mhm.
story 3. So we are on a roll here. It looks
Mhm.
like maybe it's done a lot of the hard work. And so the last story now is going to be database integration.
And it added CFM dependency that we're gonna need in the POM.
All right, so it feels like it is ready to go here. The as so it's saying wait for it's spinning up the database. So let's go ahead and we can take a look at that.
Maybe we can take a look at the manifest that it was generated to.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's our manifest, and we can see it's going to bind to the database. It is using, it's locking us into Java 17, which was the target that it platformed. And like you say, Jaime, it's got some optimizations in here.
And
And it looks
enable
like
AOT. Yep.
AOT. That's very interesting. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and ask it to do a build and push. So now we have this wonderful Maven package we can execute because we have a pom.xml file as opposed to our old system, which just simply had a bunch of uh, jar files bundled into the lib somewhere. Uh, where did this stuff? It was in meta-inf, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh,
Should be some.
web content, meta-inf or web-inf lib. Here we are. So
There we
here's
go.
all of
Yep.
our here's our dependency management in the old WebSphere world. We take a bunch of jar files and stick them into our
Just put them here.
repos. So I like the Maven approach a little bit better. All right, so we made it to the end of the process, Jaime, and now we have our application. It is deployed and it is running on Cloud Foundry. It is connected to a platform managed instance of PostgreSQL. The application is very simple. Every time we refresh it, it inserts a record into the Postgres database and then renders that onto the web interface. So it may not seem like a whole lot at first glance, but actually we accomplished a fair amount here. So even in our short period, we had it go through and take the JSP and JSTL method of page rendering and convert it to a modern timely framework. We had the Spring MVC and servlet running on a servlet engine and XML configuration, and that got converted to modern Spring MVC. We had Hibernate, which was converted to Spring Data JPA. We have the old school J2EE distributed transaction management, which was converted into the Spring Boot transactional embedded implementation. JNDI and Spring XML were used for data service lookup, and this got converted to be using connection pooling and platform service binding to automate connection to the databases. And then, maybe most importantly, we got out of the EAR construct, which has a hard dependency on the J2EE application server, and got a executable jar that can run in cloud native environment with its own embedded Tomcat instance here.
Yeah. This is fantastic. And on that last one, I will stress how easy that was, since we didn't really have to do any removal of WebSphere. We pretty much just stick to creating a new Spring Boot application that can be easily pushed into the platform.
Yeah, and I think probably the most important part is that it guided someone like me who's not deeply familiar with this process in terms of kind of a best practice approach here, in terms of segmenting these into stories, making sure that each story was delivered as a self-contained unit, completely testable and verifiable and validatable against the end user requirements here. I wouldn't have been prepared to go that myself. And if I'm working with a customer who does not have that process built in and formalized within the organization, this is a great way for them to get started on the right foot and make sure that they're executing this modernization in the right way.
100%. I think that what's also very amazing is how easy it is to expand everything that is possible here. The way all this was accomplished using skills and leveraging the expertise of the Spring team, it gives us the opportunity to also expand to multiple other use cases. So really looking forward to more of this.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.